do these little.
Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the SufferSooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So, fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together. What's going on, guys? Episode 51. So
you hit the record button on me too early, Travis.
I know you were all middle talking.
That's
so
all right. It's all good. So 51, 51. We're already 51. Man, 52 is right around the corner. I love it.
There, I know. So yeah, it's good. So yeah, we're going to talk about, what it means to be the average athlete here. We're basically average athletes. We're not pro.
One of us.
Yeah, I am for sure. If anything, I'm average for sure. So we're just talking, or below average.
I was going to say I was below average. So I wasn't gonna offer it up. I was waiting for you to say it, that I was the one that was below average. So, that's fair. No, but anyway,
So just talking about how, I was thinking about this. Just a lot of times we go, pros have it easy, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just to wake up and train, and it's like, it stays like these when you're kind of stuck in the house and you got to do stuff, and your kids, you're getting a lot of stuff done for your kids, and there's some work responsibilities, and it's just, and finding the time to train. When everything's piled on, you're just like, oh my gosh, dude, the pros have it so easy. Mm-hmm. And then the times that I don't want to be a pro is when I look outside and it's like raining and sleeting, and I'm like, the pros would have to ride in this.
Yeah, right.
They would have to go out. They can't just go, you know what, I'll just do that workout on Tuesday. It's like, no, You got to go get 6 hours out on a Monday. Rain, sleet, snow, shine. It doesn't matter. They're out there.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Just kind of getting ready for the episode. I was like, man, it always sounds so easy to be a pro when you're sitting on your couch. And then you look at how many hours, the beauty of Strava and being able to follow the pros is most of them put the generic stats out there of how many hours. And that's not all the hours, because they don't log everything.
Yeah. They don't log PT or strength or, that 30-minute run that they do every morning to get going or something like that. They're just so
I couldn't imagine. I mean, it's a whole, it's their profession. So you kind of expect that, hey, well, let me feel sorry for you having to do 40 hours of training a week. I'm going to feel really sorry but then, you see how much they go through and how much really there's a lot of sacrifice attached to it. And not all of them make the kind of money that the big stars do. And especially in these sports, I mean, in the major sports, it's, I'd be happy to take that $1 million a year salary to be the backup to the backup and have to go through all those practices. But that's not the case for a lot of these athletes. They don't get that kind of money, So, it's a huge sacrifice, and so I don't really envy it a bit, to be honest. I mean, man, they put in a lot of work. So us average folks, though, I mean, we put in a lot of work too, and we got a lot to have to balance, right? So it's not really much different. We just don't have a chance of getting paid for it. So
right. Yeah. So let's jump right into that and just, because, the average, I was messing around with, Gemini, the Google Chat GPT, and basically was saying, the average athlete is somebody who can enter or goes to an event, can perform physically, and has the technical skills to accomplish the event, and most of the time just be middle of the pack. Doesn't have any qualities that makes them stand out, so therefore they're like, that's the average athlete. Just somebody who's participating, so not wanting, for a lot of us, for me in general, anytime I enter a 70.3, the chances of me getting on a 70.3 podium are pretty slim. But there's I'm middle of the pack or whatever. But it's like a lot of times you're doing this stuff and you kind of go, well, why am I here? Why am I doing this? If I'm not going to win it, then, I get that all the time too, from like, friends that don't understand, the sport or anything. They're like, well, if you're not going to win, then why do you go out there and do it? Why do you punish yourself week in, week out, and just, do all this training and spend all this money just to go be in the middle again?
Right.
So,
well, it's interesting because so I think everybody starts in the, let's back up. I don't think I know anybody that we've crossed paths with that has gotten into let's just take the gravel cycling side of it, or even triathlon, and went into it going, you know what? I can't wait for the day that I ride 200 miles in the Flint Hills. And you know what? They didn't come into it with that. Typically, they didn't. Not many
yeah,
of going. You know what? I sure hope I get to suffer through a full Ironman for 15 hours. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I don't know many people that just start out thinking that's exactly what I want to be doing. Just like, in the ultra side of things, not many people just wake up one day and lace up their shoes and like, you know what? I sure hope I can run through a rocky terrain for 50 miles.
yeah,
Like I don't know many people that do that. So it's not like you just suddenly decide that that's the goal. I mean, you sort of, it's the result of a series of challenges. I mean, for like, when I think about the why, it's like, well, I got into this because I needed to get physically active again because I didn't like physically where I was at, where I was going. And I had kind of gotten through with a phase of life with coaching our kids and coaching, sports and all that kind of stuff. So like I had a little bit of free time. It's like, let's start riding a bike. Let's see what happens. And then next thing you know, you're wrapped up, eyeball deep into this stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And it's just constant challenge after challenge. And that, to me, it's like a part of the personality. It's like you just want to keep accomplishing things.
yep.
Everybody has a different reason, though, right? It's not always just about the challenge.
Yeah, it's not like on a career day, in high school, they were like, "Oh, are you going to go over to Sally's booth where there's ultra running?" Like a lot of times, like the thing is the sport's so small, like endurance and ultra and triathlon and cycling and stuff like that, that you don't like know about it until either someone you have met like tells you about it, or like maybe you see it on like some kind of sporting recap or some kind of article, and they're like, what is this Barclays marathon thing? They're just out there and in the wilderness just running up and down this hill, like what is going on
Without a map.
Yeah, without a map and ripping pages out of a book, and like so it's one of those things that you don't find out till later in life. And maybe that's, good or bad or whatever. Like, it's not like you're going down to, your high school and they're like, all right, guys, today in PE, we're going to do triathlon day.
Right.
So
not usually. And so I think, a lot of times people get into it, for, maybe it's just the physical outlet that is, these ultra endurance, which is an outlet physically, but it also helps mentally as well. Like,
yeah.
And I've talked on this, I know, on our episodes many, many times about the mental side and how doing these types of events has helped my like ability to resist really difficult work situations. And really, like, when you're trying to solve problems and deal with challenges in a professional setting, having that experience of physically overcoming things and never giving up and always putting that perseverance is just becomes ingrained in you. And so now take that into the professional side, and it's like challenges aren't really that hard anymore, and you're always going to find a way out of them. So and then some people want to get into these things because they just want to collect trophies and medals, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, again, it's about that sense of accomplishment. And then there's obviously, the more of these you do, the more people you start to get to know, and there's a community around it. And then, so I think there's just so many different reasons, but I have to think some of those overlap with professionals, but most of it is very specific to the amateur side of the sport,
Yeah.
So
I think, I think, I was listening to a podcast with, the owner of Lifetime, Grand Prix, and he was just talking about, like, he's like, the pro side of what they do, even though it's popular and they have video and all this stuff and all the things, he's like, that's like, I think he was saying it was like 1% of, the budget or whatever. He's like, the majority of like 95% of what they do is for the amateur athlete or the average athlete, because they're the ones that pay the entry fees and the bills and all that stuff, so that they can have these events, and we can have a lifetime Grand Prix and stuff. And by going to that, you're by you like for us participating in Unbound, we're paying for the fact that this will be the first year that the pros actually get a cash purse. Before, when you won Unbound as a pro, you didn't get anything. You just got notoriety, which could make your career as a pro, but now they're offering, cash purses and stuff like that to the pros, which is, they're spending a lot of money. You look at, Paige Ornweiler, she was out there for a whole month riding in the Flint Hills, just getting ready for Unbound. Some of these guys put,
blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, they put in 40-hour weeks, week after week, preparing for Unbound in the middle of February.
Right.
That's their big race. And that's a pro, right? Like, that's like if you were a stockbroker or whatever, like you're putting in all your money into this, new thing that's coming out, or, your business or whatever that you're trying to make. Yeah, you're going to be sleeping on the floor and trying to get it off the ground. But when you're a pro and all you have is your fitness to rely on, and you're not one pro, you're just one of, many out there doing the exact same thing.
Right.
So,
well, I think you brought up, and I know this is going to be one of the other areas I want to get into, is around the cost side of things, and how now the pros, especially like in the Lifetime Grand Prix, there's actually a prize purse attached, and I think that's good and bad. It's good because it grows the more elite side of the sport, meaning you attract more people to want to be in that elite level and compete for those types of prizes and try to make a living off of these kinds of things. But it's like, oh, so you mean I'm now part of my entry fees going to pay for a prize purse that I don't even have a chance to get? Like, what's up with that? But I think, to your point, and to that, what you were listening to in that podcast, it's like most of the entry fee is actually, and I can't speak to Unbound specifically, but we've talked to enough race directors. The majority of your entry fee is already spoken for before you even pay. It's like, it's going to pay for the event itself.
Yep.
And the
pays for all the police, the support, any kind of the water trucks to get out there, the aid stations to be stocked. Like, it pays for all of that. If you're lucky, that stuff gets donated.
Sure. And nobody at the grassroots level is getting rich off of this stuff. And if they're making any money at all, it's, even if they're making something off of it, it's nothing compared to what they're pouring in to make it happen. And then the liabilities that they might face along the way. So I think it's really good. As much as I don't want to see prices going up, I think the fact that there's more of a pro side to the sport is really encouraging, because it makes the event, because like gravel and triathlon are sports where we've talked about this again, you get to race with the pros, effectively racing the same course on the same day. It makes it more accessible, and anytime you can, grow that type of an atmosphere. We've been to Unbound multiple times now. Every year it just gets better and better. The experience side of it, not the race itself is great, but just the experience around it, the all the vendors that come in, the pomp and circumstance of it all. It's great. It's a lot of fun. So I think it's just great. It's just good to see. So, but yeah, for us average folks, none of us are competing for that prize of cash money. I can tell you that. So
yeah. And it's only offered to the pros. So like, even if you win your overall age group, you're not getting any money, you just get the fame of winning it. Yeah. And so, so it's, I think, thinking about average athletes and stuff like that, it's just like, the reason we do it is not to, it's different if we were saying, oh, I'm doing this for a paycheck. It makes the training and all that stuff like, more more dire, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, oh, we're doing this for fun. In the end, we're going to Mesa, Arizona in like 3 weeks, and we're doing that for fun.
Yeah.
We're not going to win it or anything like that. We're going to go there. We're going to try to do better than we've done before, and we're doing it for fun.
You know, I
type two fun.
Type 2 fun. Sure. Yes, because we have yet to find the runner's high, as we've mentioned many times. You know why I do it though? You really want to know like what my purpose this year is? You want to know why other than I obviously I desire to set a PR. My real purpose for the half marathon this year, so I can go back and get an In-N-Out burger and eat it guilt free.
Get two of them. Yeah. So. Double fisted.
Oh my gosh! It's because here in the Midwest we don't have those.
No, we have Whataburger, and it's just like.
So I remember when Whataburger was first coming in, and it's so funny because here in the Kansas City area, before Patrick Mahomes decided he wanted to fund Whataburger moving into the Kansas City area, the only way you get a Whataburger is to go down to Oklahoma. Like I think that was the closest. And so I really loved Whataburger because it's like the cult following here in the Kansas City area, and you only got it whenever you went to Oklahoma. And so it was just kind of like a once every few years kind of thing. And now there's one like within, like you can't go more than 5 miles down the road and before running into a Whataburger.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's just not. I'm sorry. I get it. People like it. I don't know how many people like it because every time I drive by, the parking lot's empty now. So I don't know how many people truly like Whataburger. But yeah, In-N-Out's the same way. So if In-N-Out ever moves the Kansas City area,
it's over.
It's gonna be over. It's gonna be ruined. Yeah. But it's my new Whataburger. It's like I can't wait to get down there and get another In-N-Out burger.
Yeah. So. And here we are talking about fast food burgers, and people are like, just go get one. And it's like, no. Like we don't go to Whataburger every weekend, or right. I haven't gone since they've been here, like 2 years or 3 years or however long they've been here. I haven't gone to get a fast food burger. I get like that's the reward. That's a treat. That's the cherry on top of finishing a hard thing. It's like, okay, now I get to go and have some kind of fast food. I mean, me and you, after we did Unbound last year, we went to McDonald's and had a large fry and double quarter pounder and chicken nuggets. I mean, it was like it was everything I wanted it to be at the end. It was perfect.
It was absolutely phenomenal in the moment, but I'm not gonna lie, man. It was not great.
It was not. Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it wasn't anything.
Not great. Yeah.
The thought of just doing that on a regular Tuesday is, it just doesn't work for me. But I mean, after Unbound, I was like, that's the best thing since they've invented food.
We've done that a couple of times now with races where it's like we just go find it just happens to be McDonald's because that's the only thing that's close by in most of these races is a McDonald's. So, but
and it's consistent, right? Like you don't have to, we know what we're gonna get. Like you don't go down to Tay's Crab Shack, and you're like, a Crab Shack in Kansas? They're like, yeah, you'll be fine, and you're like, I'll just go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
But it's something that's just consistent. You know what you're gonna get. You're just like, yeah, I'll just do it. So
see, I think the other side of being an average athlete is, could you imagine a pro? I would love. I mean, I'm sure pros do. Some pros do, but like, how many pro gravel cyclists or triathletes will just go like gorge themselves on McDonald's after a race? I'm curious.
Right, probably none.
Right, because I mean, especially so at the most elite levels, I guarantee they probably don't. But I mean, maybe the lower levels of the pro side of it, maybe. It's funny because as I say that, I remember I was watching some football pregame a couple of weeks back, and they were showing like one of the wide receivers walking into the locker room with a bag of McDonald's. I'm like, that can't be for you. That can't be for you because I cannot imagine eating anything from that menu a few hours before a game. I just couldn't.
Yeah, and having it sit well, but I don't know. Maybe it does.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, before one of my 100-mile rides a few years back, Travis, I had a McDonald's Egg McMuffin. That was a great. That's great. And we talk about that. Like, you want to have like a pre-meal a pre-ride or pre-event meal that you know is safe, that you can get anywhere, because sometimes you find yourself in a situation where like, oh, there's nothing to eat around here, and it's like, well,
Yeah, if you're going for your, soy overnight oats with, Himalayan dates and, whatever other, like if it makes it too complicated that you can't find it at the corner grocery store, then you either have to take it with you and make it for your breakfast, or or if you just do something where, like, if there's not a, Whole Foods or whatever, however I get, my breakfast, then I'll be able to just eat something like from the McDonald's breakfast menu or whatever, because there's a McDonald's everywhere. And I've seen pros do that before, where they just get an egg McMuffin or whatever and just eat that, and
it's safe.
It's safe.
So we're definitely on a tangent, but I think there's a lot of ties in there with the fact that, sort of being in that average athlete side of things. I mean, there's some.
Well, the other part of the average athlete is like the pros spend money on homestay, or they go to a home and live near the venue for, for a week before the race. So then, it's just like living at your house, and you go and, you make your breakfast and you go to the race and all that other stuff. So we're in like Friday night to race Saturday morning.
That's true. Yeah, when I was on vacation, we went to Hawaii last fall, and it just happened to be, what was it, 3 weeks before Ironman World Championships, and there were several triathletes that were in the area that I'm like, where do you work that you can just like take off 3 weeks before Ironman World Championships just to come down here and train for 3 weeks? And I'm like, man, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not doing this right.
You just need to train 40 to 50 hours a week.
That's it. Yeah.
And not get injured and recover and do all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
well, someday.
Yep. So yeah, it's just, I really just thought of this episode as just, kind of like paying homage to the average athlete. Like, hey man, we're all out there. Being average is fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Not
always a lot of glory in it,
No,
not a lot of recognition. So
yeah, you will see the pros come out and get the last couple finishers across the finish line and stuff. Like those guys, like, they do it at Ironman a lot. I know Keegan came back and handed out some medals for the people that were doing the Midnight Club and stuff at Unbound. So it's, the pros understand like how hard it is for them. And then they're like, oh my gosh, these guys are out there almost twice as long as we were. Right. So just to have that mental fortitude to do it is, it's something that they admire, right? Like, we all admire the pros for their fitness and their, their talent and all that other stuff. And the pros admire, us average people for doing it and then persevering, even, when it was mudbound and stuff. So,
right.
So it's good. But sorry about that. But yeah, it was good. I like, I like being average.
Well, it's, there's a lot less stress. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If I have a bad race, then it's like, okay, well, I had a bad race and I move on. But, pro has a bad race, especially if you're not like in the super elite side of it and you're not a consistent podium or, and all that. And it's like, you have a bad race, you might lose that critical sponsorship, or you might not get picked up for the next year. And then all of a sudden you got to go get a real job. And I can't imagine, I mean, I cannot imagine how hard that is when you've spent so many hours and so many maybe years training as a pro. And then suddenly you're not, like you're not sponsored. You don't have sort of that supplemental side of it, and you got to figure out how to do that. I just can't imagine that transition back. So, I mean, that's got to be tough. It's one thing when you sort of age out of it. It's another thing if you, kind of lose the ride because you had a couple bad luck.
Yeah, you had a couple bad luck, unfortuitous flats, and cost you positioning, and, you were having a really good race and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I guess you jump on, TikTok and you become an influencer. I don't know what you do. So, anyway.
Yeah. So
So on the other side of the average, we talked about the cost. So I think we want to talk about like the cost of competing is kind of on the rise, and that impacts those of us that are average a lot more. I think because typically we talked to a few race directors too that at least for the grassroots events, I mean, pros don't really pay their entry fee. It's almost like
no,
expected that the event covers the fact that their presence is going to be there, and then maybe at like I don't know about an Unbound and all of that. I'm sure they probably have to pay. Somebody pays on their behalf. I don't think they typically pay out of pocket. Um, but the rest of us, we have to find a way to pay for that stuff, and as we've said, a lot of these events are just they just keep going up and up in price. We registered for a few local ones here recently, and I think our local race directors have done a really good job trying to keep the inflation out of the racing side. And I
yep.
mean, it's
Well, and just keeping it is bare, is basically the lowest cost. It's
mhm.
not like we're gonna see Bobby or Phil or any of those guys that are local driving around in their Rolls Royce, their gold
Yeah,
plated Bentleys.
right.
Eric from Open Range has got the only Mercedes in Pratt, Kansas. Like,
I think he had that before,
yeah,
or anyway. But no, and I mean, the other side of that too is like, I think our local guys have done such a great job. I know a lot of these races are starting to offer like you sign up early, you get a discount if you sign up
hmm
early. And we've talked about that. Like there's value for these race directors to know that say 500 people have already signed up and you're still 6 months out from the event because that's now money they know they can count on that's there and they
yep,
can use that to help make the event better for that race day. And then but if only 100 are signed up 2 weeks before the event, then all of a sudden you get a surge of 300 people, like, it sends them in a mad scramble. Well, I'm sure they appreciate it. It sends people in a mad scramble because you weren't anticipating that many people at all, and, I would say, well, the cost has gone up. I think, if there's an opportunity to get that early season discount or, the early registration discount, jump on it because you're
yeah,
not only you're saving money yourself, but you're helping that race director tremendously, and it kinda helps to promote the idea of, oh, if I offer a 10% discount, more people sign up. Great. So yeah, I'd love to have a 10% discount.
yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, I'm the last minute Larry for sure all the
yeah,
time. I sign up for I'm like, when's the last moment I can sign up for this race? And then I
yeah,
usually sign up. But this year I've rolled over a new leaf and I am basically signed up for every single race until I think August.
nice.
So
Look at
yeah,
you.
I think the only one I haven't signed up for is Matt Mason, and
Mm,
I'll be doing that this month or next month. I'll be signing up for that early.
nice,
So it's just like,
nice.
I, talking to just like you were saying, just talking to these race directors and stuff. If the more people that they know are showing up to these races and have
Mm,
them on the calendar, the better and more planned that they can get their
right.
race done and the support that they're going to have. It's a
Exactly.
lot different from planning for a gravel route that only needs to support 50 people versus a gravel route that needs to support 500 people.
Right.
Like it's a lot. There's only so many B roads that you're going to want to throw 500 people down versus like if you got 50 people and half of those guys are local, you're like, yeah, I can throw them
Yeah.
down this
Yeah.
super serious B road. Most of them are going to be okay. The out of towners are going to have like a little bit of weirdness to it, but it's not going to be
Sure.
anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I really think that's great. And the reason I was thinking about the cost of competing and stuff like that is again, us average people, we do have to pay for this kind of stuff, and I saw this on YouTube. GTN, was doing is triathlon getting expensive, and they were saying like compared to like a running race and stuff that maybe you paid for a marathon $50 to $100 in 2005,
Yeah.
like now you're going to pay like $300 for a marathon in 2025, which is kind
Yeah.
of on par for the inflation that's happened over the last 20 years.
Mm. That still
But
seems like a lot, though. I
I
mean,
know.
I was looking, not to call out. I don't want to call out the Mesa Marathon because I think they do a great event, and I'm not judging their prices at all. But I remember looking at the prices before signing up for the half, and I was like, man, seems like it's
They were almost $200, right?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't want to quote the
I
price.
think, yeah, I think it was like 180 something, but still, it was.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
I mean, me and you ran. We've ran almost 2 half marathons in training, or we've ran 2 half marathons in training, like just regular long runs. So it's like, I don't really need. I guess the distance hasn't, is a factor. I guess it's all the road closures and the camaraderie and the events set up and all that stuff that you're paying for.
Yeah. Yeah. So. I mean, it's just, and that's another thing, like just running events. And again, maybe we need to get some running race directors on to kind of talk about it. I'd be curious what the expense difference is, like the pure expense side, the difference between a running event versus a cycling event, and especially, there's certainly differences in the amount of nutrition and all of that. So that you kind of cover, I'd really be curious. Because you think about like even if it's $125 for a half marathon or 100 something, most of our gravel races are still in that $75 to $80 range. And it's like $1 per hour on that is a lot cheaper to go gravel. So this is my pitch. This is my pitch. You runners,
if you want to get your money's worth on suffering, on suffering, you got to come into gravel.
We should have done this a long time ago, Travis. I mean, all these runners that, now I'm on this bandwagon now. I'm going to get up on this soapbox because all these runners talk about the runner's high and all this other stuff. You are not getting your money's worth. It's time to come over to the gravel, come to the dark side and start getting out there and getting your money's worth out of these events. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to put some signs. I'm going to carry some signs around on the half marathon now, I think. So that's good stuff. But yeah, no, all kidding aside though, I mean, certainly the cost is going up on these things. And, those of us that don't have sponsorships, it's not just the event itself, like especially on the cycling side, the cost of components have gone up. The cost of, bikes themselves have gone up. The cost of running shoes has gone up. Like, it's across the board. I can't speak to the swimming side because I haven't bought any swimming gear in a while, but I'm sure it's gone up on some level. But I know for a fact, like the cost of the cycling gear has gone up. So it's not cheap, and we those of us that have to pay for our own way. It's
Oh, you'll love this one. So, like, if we were doing a Ironman in 2005, it was anywhere from $250 to $400.
Okay.
Where now it's
400 barely covers a half, doesn't it?
Yeah, 400 is your basic Ironman half, 70.3.
Yeah.
And then now it's for a full, it's anywhere from $800 to $1,000.
Yeah,
just the entry.
I trying to remember what chat was a couple of years ago. It was about 900, I want to say.
Yeah.
After you pay for not just the registration, but then you got to pay for the fee on the transaction fee on the actual registration, which, that's not advertised. You get surprised with that after you get signed up. But
well, you get that. And then you also you have to get your hotel room and food, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to give your USAT license. And then, you have, it's, and they're just, I see a lot of stuff about like inclusion in the sport and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like it's going to be really hard to get a lot of people to do these kind of events because it's
a massive barrier to entry.
It's so expensive. And the hard part, right? And I understand it too. And we've talked with Katie Renner and stuff is that, you can't just send them down a river without any lifeguards, and just be like, here, sign this waiver that if anything happens, you're not going to, your spouses aren't going to sue us if you somehow, go down the Tennessee River and end up in the Gulf of Mexico or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but that kind of stuff is what you're paying for and stuff. It doesn't mean that, you can't do a triathlon every weekend if you wanted to.
Sure.
Like, I think that's the beauty of the sport too, is that you can do this whenever you want. Like you can go out and do a triathlon in the middle of December if you wanted to, just put it on with a couple of your friends and
especially not in Florida right now after all the snow they just got.
Oh my gosh. Right.
Imagine? Oh, so Yeah, and I don't wanna just sit and, like, gripe about the price and, all that kinda stuff, but I do think there is a legitimate barrier to entry on the cost side, especially on the bigger distance events, but, then at the same time, it's like, you again, you kinda work your way up to that, so you sorta know that that expense is there, and what do? You save up for it, and you pay for it just like anything else if you wanna go do the event, so, but it
Well,
does make
and
it tough. It does.
yeah, and the good thing too is there's local events, and like this is like if you ever wanted to support local events, get your friends that have had any kind of like inkling of wanting to try gravel
Yeah.
or triathlon or heck even a a park 10K or whatever.
Yeah,
Like get
yeah.
get those friends, get them involved, and like just kind of be like, hey, this is what it's like. It's it's kind of fun. You might
Yeah.
like it. And the next thing you
Most
know,
Yeah, and most of those smaller, like you mentioned, like a park 10K, it's great point. A lot of those types of events they are so much more they are as much fun as any big event, and I think a
hmm
lot of times it's because there is more of the community side of it, like, it's mostly local people, and there's a good chance you've seen a lot of those people out on your local training runs and that sort of thing, so makes it a lot more fun as well, but yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and say there's all kinds of answers to those types of pricing problems, but, I do think it's why the grassroots side is so important because they're the ones that are really helping to kinda keep this store still manageable. If all we had was a calendar full of Unbound type events, there's no way I'd be able to do more than a couple a year,
well,
tops, maybe under
I
1,
don't think I could even do more than one a year.
Yeah, exactly.
The way that
And
Unbound's shaping up right
Well,
now.
especially we were just talking, last a couple weeks ago, we missed out on the whole dorm thing this year. So if
Yeah.
anybody knows of a dorm that's available, I'd love to buy it from you,
Yep.
or get it off your hands, but we took advantage of that last year, and it made it the cost side of it was much more bearable, and now this year, we're gonna be just like a lot of other people, have to pay for a hotel room, and actually we gotta drive further, so now the gas has gone up, and it's like, we're what was it? I think we said we're both like $1,000 in
Yeah.
on this, and we haven't even done the race yet.
Yeah.
I haven't even bought the tires yet for my bike.
Yeah,
I still gotta buy
I haven't
tires.
even bought what tires or what special kit I'm going to be running or anything
Yeah,
like that. Like
exactly.
it's I haven't even yeah, I may need to like, put it on a new drivetrain or something for the bike. Like I could be into this a lot more than $1,000 right now.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
so,
but
anyway.
yeah, I think again, supporting local again, if you're that's my dogs. If you're
That's good.
in
I thought you were hungry for a second. I didn't
yeah,
realize that was your dog.
if you're out there to get medals, right? Of like, oh, I needed an Unbound finishers medal,
Yeah,
then you're gonna have to do the event and you're gonna have to pay the price, right? But kind of what I was saying too is like you can do this stuff any day of the week. Like they
oh, yeah.
don't roll the Flint Hills up at from June until till November, and you can't ride on them. Like you can
That's
go
right.
out there and ride there, and you can use web pages like Bobby's Discover Gravel to find great routes. There's local resources.
Mm.
You can do a triathlon. I've done triathlons almost every week, in my training program where I would do a swim, bike, run,
Yeah,
it just would be the way that it worked out. And, you, if getting the medal is what you're after, I think you're kind of missing out on the bigger picture. And
yeah,
if that's what's driving you is to get that finisher's medal, then there's so much more to these sports that you can do, and you don't really have to spend all the money
mhm,
on like going to these events, especially the big events like an Ironman or something like that. Yes, a
yeah,
once in a lifetime thing for sure. Save up for it, get it done.
sure.
But for these local events, you can, I think me paying for all the races that I'm going to do in June and August and all the local stuff probably cost me less money than what it does to register for Unbound.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and we're talking like I'm talking 5, 6, 8 races. I think I've signed up for,
yeah.
not including Unbound.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, we beat that up pretty good. I mean, and then on the running but I mean, even on the
Take
running
this.
side, I know, right? Like, I think that horse is done,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, but I do think that on the running side, the one thing I'll say, and I don't know about other areas, there's not a lot of, like, like event, like a Grand Prix style of running in the Kansas City area, where you've got like
Hmm.
a series of races that, and you've got like a point system and all that, which is
You
like,
have that I-35 series, but you just get a
yeah,
medal for completing 3 events. I don't know
yeah,
if they don't like keep track of it as far as like your standings and like each race and stuff.
yeah. So one of the
So
things that
that would be
that
kind of
really,
cool.
yeah, one of the things that really drew me to what Bobby's doing with the Great Plains Gravel Cup is when when I lived in Florida, and I know they still do this because I just saw a buddy of mine, just won his age group actually. They do a one of the local running shops down there does like a Grand Prix where it's like, I want to say it's like 6 or 8 race events throughout the course of the like spring through fall.
Yeah.
And now granted this is Florida, but still spring through fall. And it's a mixture of 5 and 10 Ks, and I think it's like five Ks and like a 5 mile and a 10K, if I want to say. But anyway, whatever the mix is. And it's like it's a whole points series, and there's prizes, podium finishes and all that for your individual races. Then you got the end of year total, which is what I really like about what we're doing with the gravel side now in the area with the Great Plains, because to me that starts to really connect these events,
Yep.
and it starts to give them importance that you just, again, start trying to separate it out from like the Unbound side of things. Like I know that's what Lifetime did, but let's face it, not many of us amateurs are going to be going all over the country to do the Lifetime Grand Prix. Even if we wanted to, it'd be really expensive, and there's not really like a point system anyway for the amateur side.
Yep.
I think this is a really good way for our amateur side to get a little bit more kind of buy into it, and a little bit more, a little bit more fun around it too. That sort of connects all the events together. And so just little things like that. It just goes back to the whole why thing. I
Yep.
think it's all about the challenge and the competition. And, I mean, we're none of us are competing with the pros. We know that, but I mean, we can compete with each other and have a good time.
Yep.
So anyway,
Yeah. So
cool,
well,
man. What else you
cool.
got?
Yeah, I was gonna do some news that we had come in. It's a little slow on the
Slow news
Santos.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
slow's news week. The Santos Tour Down Under is starting this weekend. So the World Tour season starts, this weekend. But already, there's doping allegations flying around. I just wanted to briefly just kind of come in, like I think I mentioned on the doping podcast that this is about the time you're going to start hearing about it, and you're going to see USADA and WADA and going see we're doing stuff guys, see we're doing stuff. So
Yep.
I have 3 little things that we're going to talk about today. So Yul Molder, I
Yeah.
totally
Yep.
butchered his name,
Oh, I
but
think that's
he's
right. You said it
yeah.
right. Yeah.
He's an Olympic gymnast. He's a member of the 2020 U.S. Olympic team. He got he didn't get busted for doping per se, but he missed his 3rd whereabouts check and testing. So, reading through the article, he says the first 2 that he missed were in conflict with his. He was at an event, so like he couldn't be able to get tested, which kind of doesn't make sense. So if you're doing
Well, don't you have to report the location, like where you're going to be? Don't you report
yeah,
that?
so
And
I figured the tester could just go to the event, and then once you get done with your event and
or there's
like
there's like a lab core at almost every major city in at least in the United States. So depending on where this event was at, I mean, you could have went to. I'm sure arrangements could have been made to get a proper.
I feel like it's just one of those things. Like he's like, I don't want to do it because I'm doing an event and I just don't want to like have to deal with it. And so maybe that happened the first time, and the second time I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But then the 3rd one, he basically missed, and he was kind of like upset because he was 45 minutes from the location that he was supposed to be at, and the tester is only allowed to wait 15 minutes for you to show up after you've been notified that you're going to be there. So basically, you're not where you're supposed to be, and you didn't do it correctly. And so I'm not saying that he's doping, but again, like if you can't follow the simple rule of telling somebody where you're going to be, then I don't have a lot of faith in you understanding the rules of not, ingesting stuff or
Yeah.
shooting stuff into your body type
Yeah.
stuff. Like I find it hard. I'm not saying, again, I do not think he's doping. I think he's just somebody who's just like, they're never going to test me. I'm middle of the pack or whatever in my, pro field. Like why are they coming after me? I didn't do anything wrong. You're just like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to live my best life over here. And then he missed three no call, like no shows. And he gets a 16-month suspension. So.
Is he fighting it?
No, he's not fighting it. You can't fight it. You can't fight those.
I mean, even like publicly, he's not like making like statements things like that.
There was word that he gave like a little bit of a nasty tweet on X, but he soon took it down and took ownership of it. I'm sure somebody from the USA Gymnastics organization was like, "Dude, you can't fight this. You weren't where you're supposed to be." It's like, come on, man.
Seems reasonable. I mean, there's a very, very clear set of rules here, and he didn't follow it. In fact, I mean, it's one thing if you're given the one chance and then they sort of shut you down after one, like one and done kind of thing. Like, I'm not a big fan of the whole zero tolerance stuff because there seems like, I mean, I'm not going to get into that here. It's just the point is like you're given 3 chances, dude. Like, come on. So whatever the story is, kind of doesn't really matter if it's a good excuse or not when you miss out on 3. I mean, unless you're, heaven forbid, you're laid up in a hospital somewhere and inaccessible, like then you really don't have an excuse. So take your penalty, take your lumps and have some accountability and move on. So there you go. Yeah. Okay.
And then we got the Cycling Weekly just released a interview with Jonas Vingegaard, who, if you don't know, is going to be fighting Tadej Pogačar for the Tour de France yellow jersey
yet again.
Yet again. And he was basically talking about how he wants there to be more regulation on carbon monoxide inhalation as testing for your hemoglobin weight.
I guess it's funny because I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess everything's a thing if it can have some marginal gain, but it's just like, so like you just hang out in a room with carbon monoxide, and like that seems like
So
it just seems like that's not a great approach. Like there seems like
so done improperly, it's a poison and it can kill you.
Well, at any level, it's a poison, right? I mean,
yes. So done properly, it will increase your hemoglobin and your blood. Your blood's ability to transport oxygen to your muscles and therefore give you a basically untraceable way to boost that. It's
in the air naturally at certain concentrations, and your body doesn't really hold on to it once you sort of exhaled it and purged it. It doesn't really. There's no lasting evidence of an elevated CO level.
Yep.
So I mean, it makes sense, but I'm like.
But again, it's one of those things that you see that you hear the pros are using it, and they all know it's a little shady. Like here, suck on this tube, and like just trust me, trust me, bro.
Put your mouth around the tailpipe of this,
They're like, what's this old Studebaker doing in here?
I'm gonna guess it's a little more scientific than that. Here's the thing. There's a real easy way to solve this kind of stuff. And I believe me, I like Vingegaard. I like Jumbo Visma as a team. I think they're a really good team, and I actually really like Tadej. So I'm thinking they're probably all doing stuff that might be borderline questionable. Here's the way to fix this. If you want to make allegations and statements like this about things like carbon monoxide treatments that improve your physical ability, how about every one of these teams is extremely transparent with all of the protocols they're using for athlete improvement, with third-party auditing of said programs, so that it's all on the table and everybody has access. Now, you don't have to give your protocol. I don't really care what your protocol is. I just want to know what is it? What's the treatment that you're providing? If it's carbon monoxide exposure, if it's xenon gas inhalation, if it's Theragun, Therabodies 58 times a day, because that's proven this whatever the things are, put them all
Yeah.
out there, list them all out there. And I don't want to know what your actual protocol is because there is some intellectual property there. But beyond that, like put it all out there. And if you're caught doing anything other than that,
Yeah.
suspended.
I think it should be really kind of like you have an independent like a WADA who basically has access to all their power files, all their data, and then you can start to audit and see, who's getting performance enhancement. You don't have to. You're not sitting there.
I just get
You need somebody like an arbitrage to like kind of be in between of us, the public, that we can just be like, okay, these guys said they're on the up and up and they can't find anything. And if you can't find anything, then that's it. Then just be done with it.
I just get tired of the soap opera drama of it all. And it's like,
well, it's for clicks, man.
Exactly. That's exactly. Again, I go back to just like when we did our episode a few weeks back. If the organizations want to solve this problem, they can solve this problem. It's not as hard as it's being made out to be. I'm not saying the solution will be perfect, just like what they have today isn't perfect, but it's not hard to solve these problems, So anyway, man, that's the whole carbon monoxide thing.
I just when I hear that, I'm like, well, how are you going to test? How are you going to crack down on that? What are you going to make sure that there's no gasoline engines and Tenerife when they're all training there at high altitude? Like, come on, man. Like, what are you going to do? Like,
why are they trucking in all those canisters of carbon monoxide?
That's weird. So it's one of those things that's like, I just think it's more done for clicks and views and stuff. And just really like, again, you can't test for it. So why even talk about it? Like if you can't reliably like
it's a distraction.
Get something, then it's like, hey, look at this, so and so over here is cheating, why I'm over here doing something just as just as maleficent and shady. So
well, okay.
All right. And then here's the one, this is the one that really grinds my gears, right? So I saw this come across my news feed on like the 8th of January. Okay. And it's basically that the US government's withholding money to WADA for 23 Chinese swimmers that tested positive for a banned substance because they ate tainted something, or there was something tainted in the air, or maybe they swam in a tainted pool, or they drove in a tainted car, something. But the thing that really grinds my gears is like, this is for the Tokyo Olympics.
Yeah. Which was
like so long ago that we're getting to this. Like, I know the wheels of justice grind slow, but holy cow, man. Like I couldn't even tell you who swam in the Tokyo Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, what was that, back in like 2021 maybe?
Yeah.
Like something like that. Yeah, because it was right after it was in all the COVID stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's been 4 years now, and just now we're uncovering all this, and I don't know.
Yeah, and we're shedding light to it and bringing light. I mean, I know the U.S. had an issue with China at the Paris Olympics, but then you have all these issues, but then it never just, it's all hearsay. Like these athletes still compete. Like that whole squad wasn't banned.
They don't want to take the opportunity, because the other side of that is well, what happens if they really are innocent and you took away their opportunity to compete? And
a whole squad? You're telling me they all ate and drank the same thing?
No. I'm saying that what if whatever
they all rode in the same tainted taxi?
Hey, fish get steroids too. Okay, so sorry, the meals they all get fed the same meal. But no, I mean, it's just I understand like the concept of like you don't just immediately disqualify people. But at the same time, 4 years is excessive. Like it shouldn't take that long to get to the bottom of these things and to get some sort of penalty assessed and all that. So. Yeah,
I'm happy that the US is just like, look, man, you guys are just you're too slow. I'm not going to give you money on this. Like, I really think there's kind of like a statute of limitations. Like if you guys haven't found anything or proven anything, or nobody's been suspended, then within a certain amount of time, it's like, we're done. We're done talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, withholding funds is one way to get people to start acting a little quicker, because in my mind, again, if you want to solve these problems, you'll solve them.
Yep.
It's just as simple as that. And I just don't believe for a second that these organizations are serious about cracking down on this stuff. I just
Yep.
don't. And maybe they are, and there really are these sort of edge cases of countries getting around it, but there is so much corruption in many of these these countries and in the organizations themselves. That's really the other side of it, is like, when you're ready to root out the corruption and set rules and standards that apply equally, then let's have that conversation. But again, if
Yep.
you want to solve this problem, you will.
Yep.
So
And that's my thing with the average, and to tie this back with the average athlete, like, we only have the pros to kind of look up to. And if we feel that the pros are not being, given, doing the best in their power to, basically play within the rules and do what they deem as, ethical and morally sound, and race on a fair playing field that they feel is a fair playing field, then, how is us as average athletes, have something to aspire to,
right.
So
Yeah. Good thing you don't hold the pros as total idols, and hold them up there on the pedestal. And just like, they're fun to watch, but
yeah, I think you and me have talked about this a lot, is that I see professional sporting as entertainment, as an entertainment property only, not as, this is the purity of game. This is the there's no other sport that gets more pure than this, or, like, these guys are like, pillars of health and fitness. It's like, no,
right.
it's like they're there to compete, and they're really good at competing against each other, and that's what we're there to watch. And
Exactly.
and I'm not usually too caught up in the doping stuff. I just assume that it's pretty much going on, and they're just not getting caught for it. They're being smarter than the testers, is kind of my feeling on it. So
Yep.
All right, that's all I got on the news front.
Fun stuff. So
yeah,
right, let's just hit a couple of rapid fires then real quick. So
yeah.
So I think in the vein of being, average athletes, doesn't mean you can't, be really good, right?
No, you can be really good as an average athlete. Like,
but there are a lot of things that come along with being average, and that is we tend to make a lot of mistakes. We don't have the benefit of maybe, pros that, learn from other pros and that sort of thing. And so, with that, here's some things. Like, so what's the best story that you've seen of somebody who's just absolutely lost their crap mid-race? Because that happens to us average people. Just totally lost their minds mid-race.
Lost their mind?
What's the best story you got?
Oh, man. So, I'm trying to think. So the one that comes to mind is Unbound. Okay. I'm riding, and if anybody's ridden in Unbound, it's just prairie out there, and I'm riding, and there's just some guy's gravel bike leaned up against the fence. Okay. And the guy there's nobody there. Like, it's like the grass isn't tall enough to hide him. There's no ravines. There's I spent, I don't know, like maybe 5 minutes as I was kind of riding up this on this little hillside, going like, where in the hell is this guy? Like, he does not, he just vanished. Like, he just walked, I'm sure he just walked off into the cow, and just now he lives amongst the cows as one of their own, like an adopted calf from Mudbound 2023.
There's a farmer out there that's like, where the hell did this guy come from?
Yeah.
What are you doing out here? And the guy's
what are you doing? Yeah. I mean, I can understand, like, going to the bathroom for sure. Like, if there was a tree, there was no trees. There was no trees, no big rocks, no tall grass. Like, ditch nap for sure. No ditch. There was nothing. It was just the road and flat pasture for as far as I could see. And there was no sign of a human walking anywhere.
Oh my gosh. So same year for me. It was a very similar situation. Like, there's a bike. But this guy, it was right before it got dark. It was after the second mud walk section that we had to go through in that 200. And so what is that, like mile 170, 180, something like that?
Yeah,
I mean,
180.
you're deep into the day at that point, right? 'Cause I mean, it's like 9:45, just as it's like the last bits of sunlight, right?
Yep.
And this guy, like, he just gets off his bike, shoves his bike to the ground, and just starts kicking it. Like, he's just cussing at it and kicking his bike. Like, what the hell the bike do? It
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you see I mean, people they lose their minds out there on some of these things. It's a lot of fun, man.
Well, I mean, the darkest I've ever been is on that Iron Man run, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I'm gonna if they start bringing out the chicken stock, I'm like, I'm gonna keep running. I'm running hard. I'm running as hard as I can, which is
Yeah.
not very hard, but
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's hard to me. And I'm like, if they're I'm gonna be done before they hand out chicken stock. I'm not taking their damn chicken stock. Like, just
Yeah.
telling myself this over and over, like,
Yeah.
just willing myself to move forward and just
Yeah.
angry. I'm like, I love chicken stock, man. I love chicken soup. It's great.
Yeah.
But like on that day, it was just like,
Mm.
like if I'm pretty sure if some volunteer tried to hand me a cup of chicken stock, I would have slapped her right out. Like, get out of here.
You don't want to do with it. Yeah, I was still out there. I mean, they were just bringing it out, like when I was almost done. They were just bringing it out, and I was like, oh, I don't want to take that. And I did it. I took one, and I just took a little sip, and I was like, oh, get that out of here. Like, oh my god. And I'm saying, like, I love chicken broth. I mean,
Yeah.
but no, not there. I was
You're like, don't get sucked into the salty lies.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I didn't train for that.
Yeah, I didn't train for this.
That's right. Yeah. So, all right. So, if suffering builds character, how much character do you have at mile 180?
I think you've been on a couple of these rides at mile 180. I have quite a bit of character by then. I think I come into my own as I begin to suffer more and more.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Yeah. I tell you, man, I think
you just get quiet and you're just like so laser, like just focused.
I just get more
Yeah,
and more.
you're just more. It's just like your view just goes.
Yeah, that's it.
Into the pinpoint where I'm like 180. I'm like, this is my happy place. We're out here having fun. Isn't this fun?
Yeah, yeah. It's not to like my mind, like we talked about this. My mind goes to this like dark void. Nothing really goes through it, and it's like it's just this sort of peaceful like spot. But I mean, everything hurts. Oh my gosh, does everything hurt? But you know, it's like it's almost like a meditative state where it's like you're thinking about things, but you're not really like does that make sense? Like you things are going through the brain, but like it's not like I'm not putting conscious thought into it. It's just kind of happening. And so like
I'm like riding on the flow of whatever comes in there. So like when you hear me singing, you know, songs and stuff, it's just whatever popped in. It's not that I was thinking about that song. It's just like it's there, just floating in the ether, just coming through, or some random fact about something that I learned and I'm just like going through there, or it's just riding that thought stream. It's not even, and then you know, my brain and my mouth are so closely connected. I just spew out whatever the heck's in there. So yeah. I'm sure it's annoying for all the people around me, and it's like if you don't want to hear it, just ride faster or slower. I don't, you know, I'll do me.
Yeah.
I think most people are very turned off about that when I come singing up the hills, or I'm, you know, cheerful and I'm trying to crack jokes at mile 170 and stuff. They're just like some people like just give me that look of like, why are you even talking to me, bro?
What's wrong with this guy? Yeah. I think everybody, everybody reacts a little different to it, but kind of in that vein. So what's your go-to when you want to quit, but you don't want to admit you're soft?
I'm just soft.
I mean, but you just said like you just go right into the singing side, like that's like, you just start like positivity everywhere. It just spews. Yeah.
So I think I learned really early on in the sport is that like no matter how much I like piss and moan about it, it doesn't make the distance any shorter or the time out there any shorter. So you might as well just suffer sooner. Like you just have to get in that suffer pain cave, whatever, and just, you know, start to live there, and you just kind of keep going, and eventually the darkness kind of goes away, and like the pain, you know, it never just fully goes away, but it kind of subsides a little bit, and you can, you know, start to, focus on little positive things like, oh, I only have 20 miles to go instead of
Yeah.
200. I only have, there's like an aid station in 5 more miles. I can do something for 5 more miles.
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
do whatever I need to do for 5 more miles.
Yeah.
Or the finish line is I can hear it. I can see it. It's over there where those lights are in the
Yeah.
sky or whatever. I just have to get there, and you just kind of like just
Mhm.
keep kind of going forward, because like I'll tell you, like, yeah, I suffer. Like it hurts. It hurts a lot. Like I can barely walk sometimes
Mhm.
after marathons. I can barely stand up straight after I ride my bike really hard. Like it hurts, and it
Yeah.
hurts a lot. And but the thing is the more I complain about it, doesn't mean I get to ride faster. Like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, if that was the thing, then I'd be first every day, because I
Yeah.
can complain about everything.
Well, I think a lot of people, we've kind of turned suffer sooner sort of into our mantra, if you will. Like whenever things get really tough out, whether it's training or race event or whatever, I mean, I know we've heard each other whisper that or even just say it out
Yeah.
loud. Like, and it's like people often have asked, like, well, what does suffer sooner really mean? It's like that's what suffer sooner is. It's like there's nothing you could, like, when you're out there in the middle, like mile 170 out of 200, you're not going to quit. Like,
Yeah.
you've already suffered so, like, my favorite part of a race is getting past the halfway point, because to me, that's the point of no return, and it's like, now it's just suffer soon. Now just get it over with.
Yep.
Like, keep working hard, make the pain last as little as it has to be done, and that's what you're trying to do, and you're just hanging on for everything you can to get done with the event, and that's suffering sooner. Get
Yep.
it done as fast as you can, and whatever happens, happens. But kind of in that vein, so how many, and I know this has happened. How many times have you thought, "Screw this, I'm never doing this again," but then you just turn around and sign up for, like, right
Every
after
time.
that? Every time.
Every time.
What was our rule? We put a rule in place after open range. Remember the first time we got done with open range, and we were like,
Yeah.
we were like, "That was, oh my gosh, how much that hurt. Oh my gosh,
That
how
was the
I
worst.
that was the worst. We're not doing that again." And then
We're
before the end of
never
the
doing
car
it
ride
again.
home, before
Yep.
the end of the car, we had each other convinced, like, "Well, okay, maybe we can do it next time, like, or
Yeah.
maybe we'll go ahead and do it next year, okay."
Yeah. As I'm squirming on the chair because I can't, my hips are so
Yeah,
sore. I'm like, oh
yeah,
yeah, I think I'll do it again.
I'll do it again. And then, like, we just established the rule, like, we don't make decisions about not doing a race for, what is it, 72 hours, right? It's
Yep.
like 3 days. And
That's
and
what I
then
usually like. I do that with my athletes too, is because everything is so raw,
yeah,
that when you get done with an event, you're just like, oh,
yeah,
like I hate that. That was stupid. That was so dumb. Like I spent
yeah.
all this money and and I had to walk through the mud, and I had to, almost drink chicken broth for God's sakes. Like you're like, I'm never doing this again. And then you're like, usually a little bit wild. Like you get to reflect on the whole. I think with the longer here's the thing. The medium events that I'm relatively decent at. So 70.3 to Olympic distance, and then like, less than 100 to like, 85 miles of gravel
Yeah,
or half marathon. Those I tend to just enjoy them more.
yeah,
But like the really short stuff that we have to really go hard are the times when I'm really like, why did I do this? This hurts so bad. This is so bad. This hurts so
right,
bad. And
yeah,
then on the really long stuff, it's the exact same thing. It's like, oh, I've
yeah,
been out here for all day. Why did I pay so much money just to come out here and just
yeah.
suffer for 12
Oh my gosh.
hours?
Well, we did Matt Mason last year, and that was exactly it. Like, obviously, the swim was death for me, but then the bike, it was like, and I know it was the same for you because you took top overall on the bike, so
Yeah.
we already covered that. But like, just the amount of pain and suffering
The
to
whole thing
hammer the
sucked.
bike, yeah, like just hammer the bike for that, and for whatever amount of time it took to get through, however many miles, it was, at 20 something miles.
I've,
And I don't even know what it was. I just knew, like, from the moment go, as soon as I hopped out of transition, it was on, and it was
yep.
like, just didn't stop. And then the 5K after, that's the same thing. I'm like, oh my
Oh, it was
gosh,
so painful.
oh my gosh. But yeah, it's like, why did I do that? Like,
Yep.
and all leading up to it, it was like we knew that's what we were gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
rail it until you can't, and oh, and then guess what? We're probably gonna do it again this year.
Yep.
So, all right. So one more here. Here's a good one. What's the dumbest thing you've ever carried in a race?
Dumbest thing. That cheap multi-tool that exploded on me, and then I had to put it back together.
Buy quality tools, guys. Buy quality tools. Yeah.
I've carried a lot of dumb stuff. I've carried, I've carried like headphones that that I didn't even get a chance to use because there was no cell phone service out there.
Nice.
I carried like a battery pack that wasn't charged.
Yeah.
I carried like 4 tubes and never had a flat.
Never had it. Well, but
but still, I'm like, oh, am I gonna? I didn't only had 2 CO2s, so it's like, what am I gonna blow it up with my mouth with my mind powers? Like, I'm like, by the time I have 4 flats, like I'm gonna be the last person there. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if you have 4 flats, you might as well just call it a day. It's just not your day. Right?
Yeah, so, there's something else,
and not just 4 flats. 4 flats that would shred 2 of your tires, like just totally shred them out your tubes. So, kind of, in that kind of mindset, though, like my first Unbound 100, I carried an extra tire.
Yeah, I carried a tire. I don't think it was stupid because we didn't know any better.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's one of those, like, I know I'll regret saying that because now I never carry a tire anymore. I just like, come on, you really need a tire? Like, put a tire in your aid station stop, sure, but don't need to carry one. And then it's just, but you just, like you said, you don't know because you hear all these horror stories about how sharp the Flint Hills rocks are, and I think now
they are sharp.
They are sharp,
and there is, but the thing is now that the way the old style of Unbound when it was dirty Kansas, there wasn't any aid stops. I mean, I think there was like a gas station that you guys could stop at, but like there, if you shredded a tire, like the local QT doesn't have freaking tires on sale. So you did have to carry stuff like that. So it's kind of like a holdover from that adventure racing that we were just like, but now they have a water stop, then they have a aid station, a water stop, aid station, water stop. And so
I think just the quality of the tires has improved a lot in the last 2 or 3 years too. I mean, I remember the tires I was racing on, and it's like, I definitely needed to have an extra one. In fact, if I were still using those, I probably would still carry one. But
if I was using skinnier tires, then I would probably do it. But now, like you said, I just bring patch kits and stuff, and it basically we just patch it up good enough to get us to the next aid station.
Exactly.
And that's all it has to hold. And then we can fix it on the side, fix it at the aid station. So
exactly. All right. So I lied. I got one more and then we can wrap. All right.
Okay.
So this is really important because I think it kind of ties the whole episode together.
Okay.
If there's no prize money, no podium, and nobody else cares, then why do you still do this?
Probably because cocaine's not legal.
We're gonna get flagged on YouTube for mentioning drugs.
I'm just kidding. I'm not a stimulant user. I don't. The only thing I like is coffee. Yeah, but no, I think. Either, so. Yeah, so I think that it's more about, it's going to sound hokey or whatever, but it's more about the journey than the destination, right?
Yeah.
So it's really just about putting yourself in these hard situations so that when you do face hard situations, you're like, well, nothing as hard as that, 100-mile day in Opawapu or whatever,
right.
You think that's heat stroke? Let me show you heat stroke. Like it's kind of like you're kind of going around that vein of, just getting that hard stuff done.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly it. I think I'm in the same kind of boat. Like for me, and I've said this countless times, like for me personally, it's the challenge of it. It's the mental and the physical gains that you get from it. I mean, more mental than physical, I think, just because I think it makes you stronger. And I think there's more and more, as we're kind of see, like there's more and more evidence that challenging yourself physically sharpens you up so much mentally. Like even if you think you're mentally strong, it's only going to make you stronger. And I think that's a really important thing. I think that part of it is just missed out, I think, so much. And just something about the sense of accomplishment. And then there's also something about bouncing back from failure. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit I've dropped out of a couple of events where I probably should have finished. And then it's like, well, you know what? Learn from that. Make sure it never happens again. And that's it. So
my thing too is like, I feel like I haven't reached my
pinnacle
potential, what I believe is my potential. Right. Yeah. So it's not like, like again, Jonas and Sepp aren't going to be calling me up anytime soon to come ride with them. But
Yeah.
like, I think I don't feel like the ceiling, I haven't hit the ceiling yet.
Yeah.
Probably gotten close or whatever, but I want to make sure that when I do, start writing this more for fun and less for competition with myself and those around me, that I want to make sure that when I do, it's kind of like I've accepted that I've gotten to, I've achieved all the things that was able to achieve for myself. I guess that's what I want to say.
It's funny because I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of people we've run across that are into their 50s and they still haven't gotten to what you just talked about. They still think there's more. And it's just so wild because like when we were kids, you're younger and thinking like 50s, like you're nearing retirement, it's time to start slowing down. And like, you think about people when you were say 20 years ago, think about people that were 50.
Yeah.
Now think about people that are 50 now, which isn't too far away, strangely enough. And it's like the physical activity and the ability to push the body is so much different now than it was then. It's crazy. And it's in a very positive way. And I know we talked about this a lot too. It's like, it'd be awesome to be much, much older and we've seen people in their 70s and 80s out here doing these events.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Whooping our butts too.
I know. That's right. Yeah.
So I want to be that strong 70, 80-year-old on the group ride that whoops all the whippersnappers,
right?
all the young kids.
At least taking a pull, and as you're dropping back after your pull, everybody's like, nice pull. Exactly. That's right. That's good stuff. So no, I think that just kind of ties it all together. Cause I mean, it's at the end of the day, there has to be a why in it.
Yep.
And you gotta, doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to be crystal clear so that you stay in it, you stay engaged, and you accomplish whatever those goals are. It's so much fun.
Yep.
So
good
stuff. So.
All right. Well, next week will be the infamous year podcast. So
52 episodes, a full year of that's going to be fun. And we got some really big things coming up later this year.
Huge things. Hopefully we can announce a lot of those on next podcast. So we got some good stuff. So
awesome.
All right, guys, if you guys made it through here and listened to our rambling and all that other stuff, and you hate chicken stock as much as I do, so leave a comment about the craziest stuff that you've seen on the race course. So what are you like a Danny that zones out and zeroes in on everything turns black, or are you kind of like me who just follows this crazy stream of consciousness through wherever it goes? So, all right, let us know in the comments below. All right, have a great day. Talk to you later. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more SufferSooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.